So we're going to talk about React hooks. React hooks got introduced in React version 16.x, something like that. Previously, before React hooks, all the components are rendered in the form of classes. We used to write every component in the form of class, and class it will have render method, and component will have lifecycle methods, etc. Right? And we were also having pure functional components, which we were calling them as stateless components, which is what that means is a function component which doesn't have any state. So basically that component takes props and then it renders, right? So now after that we got this hooks concept into picture. So what really the problem that hooks is solving? So if you take a functional component, like you see here on the screen, you have app component, right? So if I type something here, for example, I'm gonna put some paragraph, right? Test paragraph. So it renders, right? Test paragraph. Now this component doesn't have any state. So what if I want to add some state to it? So previously in the classes we used to have this dot state, and then we used to set that this dot set state, something like that, right? So if I want to do that, then I have to convert this into class, right? So which is tedious, and that's why React community they introduced this hooks concept. What is really hook? By meaning the word, the hook means that real meaning is hooking onto something, right? So it's going to be the same thing here as well. So basically what we're doing is using this hooks concept, we are hooking into a React component. So basically it will let you hook into React state and its lifecycle features. What does that mean? So in this use case, we want to mess up with the state. We want to give a state behavior to this app component, right? So that's where we use hooks. So for example, one of the hooks that represents state is useState hook. For example, we want to use that. And let's say I'm gonna give some state behavior to this component. So we use useState, right? And we take so useState is a function, right? So before we go into, let me write this syntax here. Basically that returns array will take the first two params. So for example, if I want to do counter, right, set counter, I'll go through the syntax in a bit. So basically what is hook? Hook is a function, right? Like I said, so the useState is one of the hooks and it is a function. So what does that do? Using that function, we hook ourselves into to mess up or to add some behavior, right? In this case, we are messing up with the state. And likewise, we also have other hooks which will let you tap into the lifecycle methods of the React component. It could be component did mount, component will mount, etc. Right? We have lots of lifecycle methods like that. So every hook, all that functionality now can be represented in the form of hooks. Okay. So now in this video, we go through useState hook, right? So what this does is when we call, it's going to return array. The first argument is a variable name. We can give any variable name here. So in this case, I just put it as counter, and then the second argument would be function. useState will return a function. So now we name that as a set counter, right? These names can be anything. Okay. So this 0 represents the initial value of the counter, right? When the app component renders, this is the value gets assigned to this counter. So that's the value it's stored in the state. For example, if I want to print that value on the page, see, it gets 0, right? But what if I want to put some button, for example, button, and when I click on the button, basically I want to increment the value. Okay, so let's say increment, right? When I do increment, when I click on this, nothing is happening because there is no connection between the button and the counter. So let me introduce on click function here. Okay, so basically we're writing the function on click anonymous function here. Then we will set the counter. You see, we're calling that function here, and then what we do, we increment already the value in the counter by 1, right? So I assign the function here, and directly I'm calling this function. So when I click on this now, it's going to increment 1, 2, 3. What's happening there? When I click on, it is calling this on click function, and then inside that it is calling set counter. You remember how we do in other class methods? We used to call this dot set state, right? So it's gonna override all of that logic now. So this is taken care by just calling this function. We're going to pass this value. So for example, if you want to reduce the value, right? So we take this and we'll say decrement and set counter. So here we're gonna take the existing value and return that. Okay, now decrement, right? See, increment. So the point you want to take from here from this video is that we have a component, empty component, functional component, and then how you can use hooks to enable the state within the component, right? So we're using useState hook and providing value to it, and then it's going to return the array of values. So first is the counter, and this can be set counter. Second is the function, and we're directly using that function here as we need it, right? This is all you would want to know about hooks. So in this case, it's a useState hook, and always it's going to be like that. So for example, if you want to use another hook, so basically it will be something like this. So use etc, and you will have use here, use, and then it could be some other context, right? Like that. Okay, so that's all from this video. So we'll meet up in the next video. We'll talk about other hooks. Okay, see you.